I think many people know about the dangers of multi-resistant bacteria or those very dangerous viruses, parasites. There's also some kind of fungi that goes around and that infects people and that is very resistant to everything. And yeah, that is probably what I think definitely what also many other people think or research, that it comes back to the liberal use of anti-pesticides and antibacteria and all this use for completely eradicating every life form on surfaces where that have to be clean. And then it turns out, yeah, it doesn't work for everything. And even when they had, I think they were cleaning up some space parts, and then they found just there some bacteria on it that survived it and thrived. Here, as you know, normally with bacteria, they have ability to mutate very fast. For example, in your mouth you have bacteria, Bacillus mutans or something. This bacteria that is responsible for caries, and you can, for example, if you eat xylitol instead of sugar, then the bacteria can really digest it and dies off. But even after some time, it will find a way to digest it, but then just loses its ability to have a biofilm and then can't build colonies in your mouth. But I think it's a better strategy than using, for example, fluoride, which is basically dangerous for all bacteria, and that is then killing everything off, but then you end up with some other bacteria that are very dangerous. So at one side you eat a lot of sugar, but on the other side you're also using toxic stuff in your mouth that is like a complete nuclear holocaust on everything living inside of your mouth. And so I have to think about this back. What I want to come of is some kind of economic economic thinking. If you think about it, you have this potential real estate, which is obviously for bacteria not only living space but also full with nutrients. And if you go and completely kill everything off there, then you have way more living space and way more nutrients. So you increase the value of it, of those area, and you'll just boost, like if you have that much money lying around or so, you make it just easier, or you increase basically the likelihood that an organism which is very complicated or very difficult takes the effort to adapt to that so that it can profit from that. So you have all this nutrient in place lying around, and that is a lot of opportunity for bacteria to adapt and to take the trouble to become very resistant. So I don't really think that those multi-resistant kinds are also very efficient at eating those. It's just that they are robust and they can evolve in this complicated processes that they become immune to this, so they get some resistances, they get immunities and everything. But if we would have the bacteria that were already there, if we didn't sterilize it, we probably wouldn't have this MRSA or this other multi-resistant bacteria, because there wouldn't be so many nutrients, and there will be competition between so many different forms of bacteria. And some bacteria will just be there that are not very harmful, that are uh, maybe even don't care about humans, that are just good at multiplying and that are good at eating and are not very resistant, are weak and are just basically like rabbits, just multiplying a lot and eating a lot. But then you come and you eradicate everything, and then you have a big landscape that makes it actually opens up the opportunity for this multi-resistance kind with the inefficient ones to populate it again. But if you maybe went and repopulated again with the inefficient ones, with the more efficient ones at populating and consuming and using nutrients, then they would probably just eat away all the nutrients for those multi-resistant bacteria, and the multi-resistant bacteria wouldn't have a way to expand. So I think that would be something that is very important to have. Of course, I think it's very important because I'm very important. I think that is a way of thought that not many people think of, because it's very easy to just kill everything off and then you have a clean surface and then nothing happens. But this economic thinking is not really something popular, or this holistic approach. And at some point you want to have a clean slate thinking, where you think, okay, you can do tabula rasa and clean everything off, and then you just start at zero. But then it turns out nature just uses that as an opportunity to start at zero again as well, or to come up with new ideas which can then take that opportunity and build up from there, and then we have something completely new that we are not immune against, and then we have to come up with new ideas, and then we come up with some other sterile cleaning technology that, I don't know, like cold plasma or something, or radiation that cleans it even more. But what we still always will have then is all the nutrients, all the space. It's like, America without the Indians. America comes there, all the Indians die, and suddenly, we have like all the space, all this liberty there. We can go everywhere, and then you have the Americans, which are more the resistant or take the opportunity of that, just because the previous organism living there wasn't that robust. Sadly. So sterilization and just disinfection, using of so much disinfectant material, also the use of antibiotics so much, is just a means to increase the value of adaptation, and with that you incentivize bacteria to build resistances and to populate those areas. And right now I can't really think of much other areas. Maybe it's also for animals. You have, I don't know, with monocrops or something like that. I was watching a documentary for some, like those Australian ants that have this method that they build very big colonies, and they mutate, and they very quickly send out a queen, and the queen lays a lot of eggs, and then they basically crush everything around them, and they just go over numbers, and then they were carried to North America and to other continents where they didn't have any enemies, so they were just exploding in population and nothing was holding them back. And yeah, this is basically, if you open up that, and it will be interesting to see how that works also for humans in space, when we find more of those pastures where it's just open. So I have another video where I talked about the dangers of Mars and space and what problems are there. And if you have those areas and you think about, okay, if we find a way to adapt, then we have access to all those resources. So you can think about like all those precious materials that are locked in some kind of asteroids in the asteroid belt, and there's just one boundary. You have to find out how to get one, and then you can just get all of those, and then you basically unlock a huge amount of resources, which was before sterile, but there's only a few boundaries that keep in a way. And it's the same for bacteria also. When you sterilize your hospital or something, then you just tell the bacteria, hey, you can have all this space, all this nutrients, you just have to become resistant to, I don't know, 99% alcohol or something. And then the bacteria is doing its best to do just that, with the then result that people get very ill from it and have a pretty bad time. Yeah, that's all.